गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। वणकम, प्रणाम, सत श्री अकाल एंड जय हिंद। आज हम बात करने वाले हैं 5 थिंग्स पाकिस्तान शुड डू बट कैनॉट डू। एंड इसके बारे में बात करने के लिए मेरे साथ मेरे पुराने दोस्त जनरल वीपी सिंह हैं। जनरल वीपी सिंह, वेलकम टू गना शॉट एंड वेरी गुड इवनिंग टू यू।
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show once again.
Oh, that it's my best thing. Yeah, after all, you studied Pakistan so closely. So on their Independence Day, today is their Independence Day.
Yes.
Um, I thought you're the best person to talk of it, and the way we discuss जिस तरीके से आपने discuss किया इसके बारे में, तो I thought that was great, and I must tell everyone, why मैंने ये जो 5 things which Pakistan should do but cannot do is not my conception. It is General VP's idea. So I will not wait. I'll straight away put these 5 points up, and you can have a go at them and explain, read through, and then we will take one by one. And your initial thoughts.
Okay. Thank you so much once again. So, when I was thinking about Pakistan, as I always do, I said, what should be Pakistani leadership be doing to pull Pakistan out of the mess which they currently find themselves in? And these are the 5 things which struck me straight away. They are pretty simple. And when I gone into the little bit of details, I found then that it's very, very difficult for them to follow or adhere to this. Now, these 5 issues, I've just put them up on the slide. So one is, of course, hold elections and re-establish civilian rule. We'll talk about it later. I'll just go over the bullet points. While somebody may say that they have already announced elections are going to be taking place in sometime soon. That's all right. But there is more to it. And that we will discuss after a while. The second, which perhaps to my mind is the most important thing, is that Pakistan must support, I use this word very carefully, they must support army leadership to go back to the barrack. And when I use this word support, it is a little different than when we say put Pakistan army back into barrack. There is a kind of a force behind it. This is a little bit more consensus, I would say. Then, of course, they must, I repeat, give up their strategic assets. They have tried them, they have tested them, and they are of no use. They will bring only miseries to Pakistan, which I'm talking about the terrorists and militants. And of course, they must, once they are off their strategic asset, they must stop meddling in other countries' affairs. Mind their own business. It will be very good for them. And last but not the least, the way to start is just resume your participation with the regional constructs and structures that we have. So the bottom line is, should Pakistan stay exclusive, away, isolated, or should it be of making an effort to become inclusive with the rest of the world? So these are my initial thoughts. We can go over it again. But before I go to the fifth, these 5 points, there is a sixth one, which I thought. And I will first talk about the sixth one, which is that Pakistan must think about a new idea of Pakistan. The idea of Pakistan, that famous book and things related to that, I'm saying from there that it's time for them to rediscover themselves. Think about a new idea of Pakistan. At the same time, they must also start constructing their new identity. And this new idea and this identity that we are talking about, we can debate about what it should be, but let me flag it what it should not be. And what it should not be, it should not.
Before, so what we're now going to do is, इससे पहले कि हम आपके जो 5 पॉइंट आपने लिखा है, आपने एक और अहम पॉइंट लिया है, व्हाट इज द आइडिया ऑफ पाकिस्तान,
Yes.
राइट? सो अगर आप आइडिया ऑफ पाकिस्तान के बारे में बात कर रहे हो तो यू हैव गॉन बैक टू 1947 when it came up, right?
Yes.
And we know the two nation theory, or two nation theory has become a three nation theory now with Bangladesh in between, and it's now going to become a four nation theory also if they don't go on, they continue on this path in which they are.
Hmm.
And this whole idea of Pakistan was based on religion, and etc., etc., etc. So you want a paradigm shift in this, or are
Yes.
you talking of anything else other than this when you say idea of Pakistan?
Okay. So to answer in one line is that they must get rid of whatever their idea of Pakistan was, what you just very correctly mentioned, that the Pakistan was born on the basis of two nation theory, became three and may become four or whatever it is. They must get rid of it. And therefore, that's what I was beginning to say, that when you stopped me, that they should not be an anti-India entity. If you ask any Pakistani sometime back, they say, "What? Who are you?" They say, "I'm Pakistani." What is Pakistani? Quiet. And then the idea comes up: anything which is anti-India is Pakistani. The second is, long time back, not so long time back, they used to talk about Pakistan is a killer of Islam, the defender of Islam, the custodian of Islam. They should not be a killer of Islam. Then, when they detonated the nuclear bomb, a thought came in that this is a bomb for the Islamic world. This is an Islamic bomb. So they should not be a custodian of an Islamic bomb. They have a bomb, it is for their defensive needs. It is not an Islamic bomb. They should not be a custodian of that. Then there is a huge hype. All the time you go to Pakistan, you talk about Pakistan, I mean, talk to anyone in Pakistan, they are anti American. Absolute 99% population anti American. There is a huge hypocrisy involved in this, because while they say they hate America, but they just cannot live without America. So they must not remain hypocritical about that concept. The next point, and this is my second last point on this, they should not be a vassal state of China, which they are slowly getting into. Once you become that, you lose your identity. So Pakistan should be careful not to become a surrogate or a vassal state of China. And last point, more often than not, they are known as spoiler. They are not part of the solution that the region or the geography or the world faces. They are more often than not part of the problem. It's high time they realize this and do not become part of the problem. They should now become solution for the problem world is facing. When
So
Osama bin Laden is discovered in Pakistan, you were part of the problem. Now you should become a solution of the problem. And I can add so many
yeah,
points to that list.
so जो
This is
जो
it.
आपने बोला है मेन थिंग, जो आइडिया ऑफ पाकिस्तान, एक तो दे हैव टू गेट ऑफ दिस कि किला ऑफ इस्लाम, that they are the sole people of Islam, right? Next thing which you have said, which very very important, आपने जो बोला है कि पाकिस्तान should stop being hypocritic about America,
Yes.
stop being anti-India, and stop being a vassal state of China,
Yes.
right? ये तीन चीज जो है, इसकी अलग अलग वजह है, बट इसकी वजह से क्या है, इनका इंडिपेंडेंस खो जाता है, दे हैव
Absolutely.
टू, इनका इंडिपेंडेंस चला गया।
Yes.
अभी अभी मैं एक प्रोग्राम में एक मिस्टर कैसर बंगाली हैं, उनका वीडियो भी घूम रहा है, वो बोलता है कि पाकिस्तान इज नो
Yes.
मोर इंडिपेंडेंट स्टेट,
Yes.
राइट? सो और ये इनका ये मानना ये है कि ऑलमोस्ट बिक चुका है।
True.
तो अगर ये ओरिजिनल आइडिया ऑफ पाकिस्तान को रीडिस्कवर करना है, आप जो बोल रहे हो एक्चुअली रीडिस्कवर करने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि जिस आधार पे बना है पाकिस्तान वो तो आप ये नहीं बोल सकते हो कि नहीं होगा, बट रीडिस्कवर करना है। और वो रीडिस्कवर करने के लिए बाकी 5 चीज करने की जरूरत है।
Absolutely.
आपने जो
That's true.
है कि नहीं?
So this willy-nilly becomes their national goal. Rediscovering, identify a goal for yourself. This is their goal, that they must become a nation on their own, not this, that, or whatever it is, what we have just mentioned. And in order to do that, they have to follow some very 4 or 5 simple steps that we say that should do, but they find it so difficult to do it because of so
राइट,
many things.
या
We can go
आप
on
जो
that.
बोल रहे हो, या आप जो बोल रहे हो बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हो। आपने बोला है कि भाई 5 सिंपल स्टेप हैं करने के लिए, और वो कर नहीं सकते। स्टेप्स तो सिंपल लगते हैं, बट इतने मुश्किल है वो कर नहीं पाएंगे।
Yes.
राइट। तो मेरा पहला सवाल है, इससे पहले कि हम 5 स्टेप के ऊपर जाएं, ये क्यों नहीं कर पाएंगे? क्यों इतना मुश्किल है इनको करने के लिए?
Okay. Once again, a very simple answer is to take any tough decision. What do you require? You require just 3 or 4 things. Number one in that list is a very visionary and strong leadership. They don't have it at the moment. Second thing, they the second thing that they would require is a nation which is motivated, positive, and looking ahead, not a pessimistic, subdued nation. It's a galvanizing the nation, which is the job of the leader, which he has to do. It's tough thing, very easy to say. The third thing is economic stability and welfare of people. If there is a serious internal security problem, internal economic problem, and other thing, and of course the main economic issue, where will country think about the future? And then I come to the last point, which they should be least worried at the moment, is their security. Unfortunately, in case of Pakistan, it is the security which has hollowed them. From the time they were born, they have convinced their population that Pakistan is going to be taken in or swallowed by.
Swallowed up by India.
Yes, which is untrue, absolutely untrue. And that is exactly what I say, why these are very simple steps and why is it so difficult? Because none of those factors Pakistan has at the moment, starting from the leadership right on to the last point that I mentioned.
So, okay, in the absence of this, they have to go through the rigor which you are saying. Those 5 steps जो लेना है, they have to do. किस तरीके से करेंगे वो देखी जाएगी, but we'll discuss each one of them.
Right.
Right. तो पहले हम लेंगे ये होल्ड इलेक्शंस एंड रीएस्टैब्लिश सिविलियन रूल। आपको जैसे पता है आज का हालत क्या है? आज का हालत ये है कि वो एक केयरटेकर प्राइम मिनिस्टर को लगा रहे हैं। ऑलरेडी बात चल रहा है कि ये केयरटेकर प्राइम मिनिस्टर 3 महीने या 4 महीने के अंदर इलेक्शन करा नहीं सकता, क्योंकि इलेक्शन कमीशन ने घोषित भी नहीं किया कि इलेक्शन कब तक होगा। और बात तो ये हो रहा है कि ये 3 महीने ने एक कुछ और लॉ निकालेंगे, कुछ ये जुडिशरी के साथ तालमेल करके, और ये कुछ दिन और बढ़ाएंगे। हो सकता है इलेक्शन ना ही हो। राइट। फिर तो ये केयरटेकर गवर्नमेंट चलता रहेगा, और फिर तो ये रीएस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ सिविल रूल तो होगा ही नहीं, क्योंकि जो मेरे जहां तक हमें नजर आ रहा है, ये जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर जो बना रहे हैं केयरटेकर गवर्नमेंट का, वो तो he is a handpicked maiden of the army, right? So uh, do you really think they will be able to hold elections and re-establish civilian rule, and how do you see it happening, in what time frame, and what are the difficulties?
Yeah. So you see that this current thought chain of thought that we are discussing, I am admitting right in the beginning that it is a huge ask. Though the steps are very simple, but it's a huge ask in case of Pakistan for the reason that I just mentioned. So if they cannot do, in spite of having been through this process so many times, I'm afraid they will remain in the same mess that they have been living for the last 75 years. So then we can discuss some other subject. But right now, what we are discussing is that even if there is one wise man in Pakistan, he should be thinking like this. He should be doing these things. This is the only way. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it 10th time that it's not easy. But let somebody take one step in that direction. That's the beginning. Now, just talking about hold elections, you see, elections are held all over the world. It is so normal, it is so common a process that nobody even talks about it. Only thing they know is, okay, next year there is an election in India. Next year, next month there is an election in one of the states in India. It's so normal. But in Pakistan, holding election itself is such a major issue. That should give them a sense that they are not a normal state. There is a problem. Now, when I say reestablish civilian rule, that means first thing, as and when these elections are held, forget about that, who's this caretaker government, what is the design behind it. If all those things are there, we'll get to know about it, and let's leave the debate, and there is Pakistan will carry on the way they are going. However, in case they hold the election, they must make sure that it is free and fair, because any rigged election in Pakistan will pull them back to the same, I would say, spiral, which, as I said, they have been living in 75 years. It must be free and fair. Let the party who has public support come to power. And connected with that is, once they come into power, they must ensure that the government is allowed to run its full term. Let them make mistakes. Don't throw them out on some pretext this way or that way and all that.
वो
Another thing which
बट नहीं नहीं इसी के संबंधित
yes,
आप बताइए, आप जो बोल रहे हो, क्या ये मुनासिब होगा इस आज की स्थिति में? क्या आप देख रहे हो कोई है जो ये सब करवा सकता है? क्या नवाज शरीफ करवा सकता है?
right.
क्या अगर ये इमरान खान को बाहर छोड़ दें तो ये हो सकता है कि यही दो लीडर हैं और कोई तीसरा लीडर मेरे को नजर नहीं आ रहा?
You see, Imran Khan has already been put in his place with the ban and other thing. Imran Khan is out of this picture.
The equation.
Absolutely. So now the game is between two major parties and another party which was created this thing. So that's the thing. So what I am trying to say is that let these two parties, I'm talking about Zardari and Nawaz Sharif, if they have any what should I say, good of Pakistan in their heart, they must sit down in a room and say, okay, let's fight it out in public. Let the party which has got the support of people run the country for the next 5 years. We will not do anything. We will not have any tuck with the government, army and other things. That's it. That is all that I'm saying about the free and fair elections. Because if it is not going to happen, then, I mean, 10th time.
फिर तो ठीक है, बात समझ में आ गया. ओके, राइट. सो फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शंस जो है ना, वो तभी होगा जब ये जो आर्मी के हैं, ये आपने जो बोला है रिटर्न टू बैरक्स, तो ये है मेन चीज जैसे आपने बताया. तो क्योंकि हमें सबको पता है 1956 से 58 से लेकर आज तक Pakistan has been only virtually under an army rule in some form or the other.
Yes.
So there's nothing, yeah. So how do you do this? This is the most difficult thing. I want you to think, because everything else will fall into place if this is done. In fact, everything will fall into place if two things are done. One, that idea of Pakistan is sorted out, जो आपने बोला पहले discuss किया था. But it is so huge that idea कि वो overnight नहीं हो सकता, वो time लगेगा. But ये हो सकता है. इसका होने के लिए क्या आशंका है और कोई है ये करने के लिए?
Okay. So before I answer this question, I just want to make 3 more points in relation to holding election, free and fair elections. That They must also ensure a couple of more very normal things. That is, must hold government of the day accountable to the parliament. That means restore sanctity of the parliament. Very important. They must also make sure that there is separation of power. Various institutions which are there, they must not start encroaching on each other's turf. And last but not the least, it must be ensured that whichever government comes into power now must be allowed to run its full term, no matter how many mistakes they make. And
Yeah.
that closes the first bullet point of mine, that holding free and fair election, what should be done.
Okay.
Coming on to the second one, I use this word very carefully, support Pakistani army leadership to return to barracks. The fountainhead of this thought is that it is the Pakistani army leadership which has been saying, like the previous chief, he said, we don't want to be messing around in the politics. They have gone public and said that we don't want to mess around in the politics. Take him on his words. I'm talking about the previous chief's thought. The present chief also has said that I am just not interested. He has not been, he is keeping a very low profile, I would say, and behind the scene, not interested in politics. If that be so, my point is, let Pakistani leadership, let Pakistani political people, whosoever they are, they must support the Pakistan leadership. This is what you have said. Please do it. Please go back to your professional duty. That is, go back to your job. Why is it difficult? It's not because of the political thing or for any other reason. It is difficult because Pakistani army suffers from some compulsions. What are these compulsions? Right from their birth, as I said, it is the Pakistani army which has created this or turned this nation into a security state. It's an old bad habit, very difficult to get rid of that. That is their compulsion. There is an irresistible urge in Pakistani army to be a part of this political chessboard. Though they have said now, and I'm talking about that, this compulsion has to be pushed back. Then they also have this idea of that आप बाकी जो मन में आप कर लो, लेकिन पाकिस्तान must remain in perpetual hostility towards India. This is their compulsion. That is why it is the security. That is why Pakistani army keeps handling around. And of course, they also cannot live with the thought that they have to give up their strategic asset that we'll talk about. So they want that same good terrorist and bad terrorist. They want to keep their strategic asset alive, but oriented only towards India. This is their compulsion. Then they again suffer from a kind of a thought that they cannot match up with India's conventional capability, and therefore they must offset that by playing a nuclear card all the time. They must realize it is not going to work. It's not going to work. So this is another compulsion. And of course, there is always been, and these are the issues which have been absolutely part of Pakistani army's thought, that J&K issue is a nuclear flashpoint. It's nonsense. It's not a nuclear flashpoint. This compulsion is Pakistani army's compulsion. Nobody thinks that way. And of course, last but not the least, they want, by saying this, it's a nuclear flashpoint, they want to keep a good control over their nuclear asset. And telling the world, because of this, we have the nuclear weapon. Notwithstanding the serious threat off and on they face about the nuclear weapons falling in terrorist hand or some other place. These are the compulsions Pakistani army suffers. And along with that, there are certain misconceptions. They also suffer from some misconceptions, which I will just flag it out there. They feel that liberation of Kashmir is an attainable military goal. It is not. They must be real about it. Then they also feel that a sub-conventional war that is bleeding India by 100 or 1,000 cuts, they will be able to take Kashmir. They cannot. This also they misconception they must give up. Then they say they feel that this Kashmir fatigue is going to tire India and finally India will give up. It is not going to happen. Also, there has been a notion which actually triggered the 65 war and all other wars that they fought on Kashmir, that Kashmiri Awam is going to rise up against India. Gone are the days. अगर 1947 में नहीं वो इंडिया के अगेंस्ट खड़े हुए तो आज क्या खड़े होंगे, सवाल ही नहीं है.
नहीं नहीं, एक और चीज मैं बताना चाहता हूँ.
जी.
ये इन वॉर ऑन द रॉक्स और नेशनल इंटरेस्ट, या नेशनल इंटरेस्ट मैगजीन में एक आर्टिकल निकला है by a chap called Rubin. What he has said that Pakistan is losing Kashmir. This Pakistan is losing Kashmir.
Yes. So this is their misconception that Kashmir
what he says is that in Kashmir people are now, houseboats are going, parties are happening, people are going for tourism. And आज एक वो हमारा जो पुराना डीजीएम है जनरल भाटिया ने एक ट्वीट किया है where tourists have gone to see the on the LC, right? वो केरन वैली में एलसी के ऊपर पिकनिक मनाए जा रहे हैं. और वहाँ क्या है, and let me put it in context. I just finished seeing a program called The Black Hole. It's something like, which is being run by this.
I think that.
It's an interesting program on Pakistan. Parvez Hudboy ka. Or Parvez Hudboy describes his recent, travels in Pakistan. कहता है मैं ग्वादर गया था, वहाँ लोग हर एक जगह चेक पॉइंट्स थे और वो मेरे ऊपर मशीन गन तान के बैठे थे. मैं अबटाबाद गया था, वहाँ भी यही हाल है. और गिलगिट गया था, वहाँ भी यही हाल है. So that has become a garrison state. It's not only a security state, it's a garrison state. And whereas Kashmir is free, तो ये जो I'm just reinforcing जो आपने बोला, ये जो गलत फहमी है, गलत फहमी है,
and they have to get rid of it. Otherwise,
देखिए
another thought they love to live with is that this irritable Pakistan is a big stumbling block in the rise of India, and therefore India will somehow compromise because we are so irritating. Answer is no. You may be thinking like that, but India's rise is not going to be checked by you being irritating or a nuisance. And of course, the stupid thought that they always harbor is that Pakistan's location, geostrategic location, it is not the panacea of all your problems. You have a very good location, but what are you doing to exploit the location? You have no clue. This is exactly misconceptions Pakistani army is living with. And therefore, it becomes so difficult for any civilian government to push them back into barrack. And they have to think about new ways or whatever it is.
आपने जो बोला बिल्कुल सही बोला है. मैं misconception is a very nice word. मैं तो हिंदी में बोलूंगा इनको गलत फहमी है. गलत फहमी है, ठीक है, क्योंकि that's more appropriate to put things in perspective. इनको गलत फहमी है. And it is not only जो आपने बोला है, ये all these things, they have long back stopped being irritant to India, and we have learned how now to look beyond them. और ये बात जो है, ये मैं पॉइंट आउट करना चाहता हूँ आपको और सबको. पाकिस्तानी आर्मी नहीं रियलाइज करता है, पर उनका जो लोग, जो सोचने वाले, जिसके पास दिमाग है, वो बड़ा क्लियर है उनके कि भाई हम इंडिया के साथ मुकाबला नहीं कर सकते, वो कहाँ चले गए और हम कहाँ हैं. और ये बात इनका ऑपेड से भी निकल आता है. पर ये don't you think there is another factor behind all this, where Pakistan army is stuck on this revenge for India, be irritant for India? It's pure revenge. The fact that they've lost all the wars, and the fact that Pakistan is the only professional and the best army which has never won a war. These factors, don't you think they're playing on to Pakistan's army?
Absolutely. You said it. And if I want to put these factors in a bucket, I would say these are the fault lines within Pakistani army. आपने अभी जो मेंशन किया कि जनरल जब रिटायर हो जाता है तो कहता है यार we can't win against India. But 10 days back when he was DGMO or something, he says दांत खट्टे कर देंगे, मैली आंख दिखाई तो आंख निकाल देंगे and all kind of thing. 10 दिन के अंदर क्या चेंज हो गया? So there is a gap. There is a gap, and these are the fault lines. And I'll just quickly put across my thoughts on that. That Pakistani army, when you use the word professional army, problem is that if you repeat the same thing again and every time expect a different result, you are stupid. It doesn't happen. So जो 47 में उन्होंने वो रेडर भेज करके कश्मीर लेने की कोशिश की, वही ड्रिल वो बार बार दोहराते चले जा रहे हैं, and they are expecting कि अभी रिजल्ट चेंज हो जाएगा. It doesn't happen. This is one stupidity that they do. Then they are a great conflict initiator, but just don't know how to put an end to that conflict and end up doing what? This is so strange that Kargil किया. They didn't know. I mean, हम लोग को फौज में सिखाते थे ना कि भाई how far can I plan? तो परवेज मुशर्रफ could only plan for ये हिल ले लूंगा, वहां बिठा दूंगा जाके लोगों को, उसके बाद क्या करोगे, कुछ आइडिया नहीं है. एंड दे प्रिज्यूम कि अभी इंडिया तो कुछ करेगा नहीं क्योंकि हम हिल पे आके बैठ गए. और what was the end result? They are such poor conflict terminator that they had to send their prime minister, who sat like a absolutely sorry figure in front of the president of United States and said sorry for everything and came back. But you know the irony of the whole situation, the man who pushed the prime minister into that situation, embarrassing situation, a year later he became the president for next 8 years.
Yeah,
that is so strange. How can it happen? You have embarrassed your legitimate political leadership, and now the man who has done that, you made him the president of Pakistan.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you completely. जो आपने बोला ना, conflict initiator हैं, ये conflict terminator नहीं है. अगर आप इनका हिस्ट्री देखोगे, पाकिस्तान इज अ फर्स्ट हाफ नेशन. ये फर्स्ट हाफ अच्छा खेल लेता है.
बस
आप चाहे 47 में देखिए या 65 में देखिए, और या आप 99 में देखिए, या दे स्टार्टेड द प्रॉक्सी वॉर, दे डोंट नो हाउ टू एंड इट.
करेक्ट.
सो दे आर अ फर्स्ट हाफ नेशन. फर्स्ट हाफ में ना जैसे सारे गोल मार लेते हैं, उसके बाद तक जाते हैं, सेकंड हाफ में पिट जाते हैं ये. राइट.
And the biggest mistake that they have done all their life, they have always underestimated Indian Army's resolve, and more than Indian armies, they have underestimated India's resolve to deal with Pakistan, which is the biggest folly.
Yeah,
I think as a senior military leader that you have to do is try and assess the resolve of your enemy. If they had read the history properly, they would have realized that it is futile to do a thing like Kargil or any other thing that they were trying to do. Underestimation of India's resolve is the biggest mistake and biggest problem that Pakistani army has faced. And the first point that I mentioned, therefore they keep repeating the same process and expecting it will give them different results.
Different results. It doesn't happen.
And because of these three factors that I just mentioned, their compulsion, their fault lines, and their misconceptions, it is so difficult for Pakistani political leadership, Pakistani awam, to tell them, please go back to your barracks, learn to fight and do your job.
Right,
so simple. That's why we are just going to our master slide. So simple a thing to do, but they cannot do it.
You can't do it. Right. Now, let me turn this, I won't say turn it, but let me put across another point of view which makes it difficult for the Pakistani army to go back into the barracks. Look, for the Pakistani army, Pakistan is a golden goose. Like what Rajiv Narayan and his command said, it's a golden goose. Although it's laying eggs. और ये तो इन्होंने इतने अंडे इकट्ठे कर लिया है, तो हाफ ऑफ पाकिस्तान दे ओन. वो लॉन्ड्री भी है उनके पास, है मीट शॉप भी है. अभी तो 1 लाख एकड़ जमीन मांग रहे हैं. फार्मिंग भी करना चाहते हैं, और वो कराची एयरपोर्ट भी बिक रहा है, कराची पोर्ट टर्मिनल भी बिक रहा है, कुछ ग्वादर भी बेच दिया इन्होंने और पैसा बना रहे हैं ये. क्या इज इट feasible for these chaps to let go of all this and go back into barracks?
Yes. So if I was say to take a decision on this issue, I would do it like this. I'll say, okay, their main interest is paisa banao. For some time, let them continue with what they have been doing, Pakistani Inc. Let them make money. let them at least pull back from whatever else they are doing, management of strategic assets and this and that. Go back, keep taking whatever money you want to take from Pakistan. 1 लाख एकड़ जमीन चाहिए, ये जो मन में आ करो. So उनका पेट भरने दो उसी तरह से जैसे अब तक वो जैसे वो चाहते हैं. But ask them to curtail their role in other dimensions, that is political and this and that and all those things. Once you do that, and side by side, if the political establishment takes root, becomes strong, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, now you start turning screws on their this expenditure and money making. By then, the government is slightly firm. It's not, as I said, it's a very complicated process. It's not going to happen. That's why I said it is not, they cannot do it. I already admitted that. But if I was to,
we are examining
yes,
it.
Yes. So this is how they should do it. For some time, just let them continue to that money business, but cut them out as far as from other activities are concerned. That will shrink their capacity, I would say.
Okay. So you have anything more to say on this, or should we move to the next point?
Yeah, we can go to the next point now.
Yeah, we'll go to the next point.
Whole night about it, but
no. We don't have the whole night to speak because
I know.
you know why? 1 hour after this, I have to go to Jaipur Dialogues today, and with Sanjay Dixit, I have to speak on Pakistan again. Okay. So actually, you're teaching me how to speak there.
No.
Okay. Yes. Now, the next point connected is हमने already बात कर लिया strategic assets के बारे में. तो क्या ये strategic assets give up करेंगे? क्योंकि इनके पूरे and I look at two parts of the strategic assets. इनके strategic assets जिस तरीके से सोचते हैं, एक तो ये जिहादी incorporated, जिहादी इस्लामिज्म, radicalism, एक वो strategic asset है, और दूसरा इनका strategic asset है nuclear. क्या ये दोनों, बिकॉज ये दो से ये चलाते हैं, शासन चलाते हैं, इनका पावर आता है इंटरनेशनल फोरम्स में, यही बात होती है. मतलब इफ नॉट ओवर द काउंटर, अंडर द काउंटर बात तो यही होता है. So do you think they'll be able to give up their strategic assets, and if so, how?
Okay, so let me clarify this particular point. When I mean strategic asset here, I'm only talking about the terrorist militants. I'm not talking about the nuclear asset.
Okay,
I'll be naive to even suggest that Pakistan should give up their strategic asset. No, it's not my case. My case is only the militants and terrorists. This must be number one on their to-do list. Get rid of them, because they must look back and see from the history that their misadventures using these strategic assets have only brought misery to Pakistan and Pakistani people. It is for this reason they must get rid of them. They must also realize, if they read their history carefully, that these militants or terrorists cannot deliver Kashmir to them. They have tried it from 1989 till now. Cannot. So what is the point in keeping them with you? We have already covered this 100,000 cuts. नहीं होता, वो नहीं होगा. इसी के साथ में one of their dream was, we will subjugate Afghanistan through these terrorists, and it is just coming back to them. I mean, anybody, even a blind man will say, "Yeah, this is not working. Give up." So I'm not saying because I'm an Indian and I'm suggesting something stupid to them.
नहीं, ये बात सही है. वो तो
जेल रहे हैं. They are not going to improve their country. And I can talk so many other aspects of this, but suffice to say,
what you're saying is absolutely right.
भाई ये snakes हैं, आप समझ जाइए, ये सारे सांप आपने पाले हैं, उन्होंने आपको ही डसा और आज भी डस रहे हैं. वो ग्वादर में जो बॉम्बिंग हो रही है, जो यहाँ बॉम्बिंग वहाँ बॉम्बिंग हो रही है, ये वही सांप हैं सारे. It is in your interest, get rid of them. That's the point I'm making. Simple.
Okay. So that's the problem with their strategic assets. Now let's look at it. Stop meddling in other countries' affairs.
Yes.
So
this is relatively a simple ask, to be very honest. Right now, the kind of mess that they are in, it is good for them to mind their own business, look inwards, and see you have so many things on your plate. Try and resolve that first. Pakistan must use its CNP, Comprehensive National Power, for the welfare of their people and not to trouble or not to meddle in other countries' affair. Uh, the second point that I wish to make in this is that a policy of non-interference with others' affair will also give them another advantage, which is linked to the previous point when he said support army to go back to their barracks. So what happens is once they formulate a policy that Pakistan will not interfere in any other country's affair, Pakistani territory will not be used as they have already committed for any terrorist purposes to any other country, what will happen? They will diminish and shrink the profile of Pakistani army. They will curtail their role because it is through this army that they are trying to do those things. They will diminish that. They will reduce, they will clip the wings of ISI. ISI today is a bigger problem for Pakistani leadership than to India or to any other country. So when I say that stop meddling in others' affair, it is in their own good. They will be able to rein in these rogue elements. I'm talking about the elements like ISI and other things. Of course, another byproduct of this policy would be that that will enhance Pakistan's stature and their respect in the committee of the nation, which is what
Nation.
they
Okay.
need at this moment. And last but not the least, uh, it will reduce the mistrust with her neighbor, with other countries around. And once that mistrust is gone, that is the time when Pakistan will be able to use their strategic location, put that location to the best use. So everything good is going to start with only when you start doing good, which is mind your business and stop troubling people around you. And the reason I've
Okay.
already given why it is good and why should they do it.
Okay. Is this meddling only to do with India or is it to do with Afghanistan also?
दोनों दोनों बिकॉज अफगानिस्तान उनके साथ प्रॉब्लम ये है इन्होंने ये दिमाग में एक बात बिठा रखा है कि कश्मीर तो हमारा है और अफगानिस्तान हमारी डेप्थ है ऐसा नहीं है दे हैव टू रियलाइज दिस ऐसा नहीं है 75 सालों में ऐसा नहीं हुआ आगे भी नहीं होगा 175 सालों में नहीं होगा and with every passing year India because of her economic rise political rise and strategic whatever other reasons India is going to become too big for them to handle and Afghanistan for different reason they are becoming more and more notorious and to deal with a bad neighbor through the bad currency it's very bad so they are
This is a
dealing
nice
with
thing. आपने
variety of
you said what you said is very nice. Dealing with a bad neighbor through a bad with a is a bad option always, right?
that's
Okay, right. So let's tackle the last point in your list, and that is resume participation in regional forums to reinvigorate the economy.
yes. Now, here again, it's a very simple policy. Like we have this policy in India, neighborhood first. I would suggest Pakistan to understand this policy and adopt it. Neighborhood first. It'll do great deal of good to them if they start looking around their neighbors and start building their relations with them. Connected with this is the first step that they need to do is reactivate, start participating in the regional structures. I'm talking about SARC, I'm talking about so many other initiatives. Rather than sitting in a corner like a sulling, disgruntled
In a
boy,
corner, sat in
join
a
in.
corner.
Yes, yes, join in. When you left SARC, or rather not formally, but when you destroyed SARC in their functioning, you only lost, nobody else. People have found different ways to connect with each other, Bangladesh, Nepal, and other countries, Sri Lanka. So it is better for you to come back to the room, meet your neighbors, talk to them. That is how you are going to grow. That is how your economy is going to grow. And of course, reactivate your, there are agreements with Pakistan, with other countries and all that. Reactivate those agreements to start trade and commerce. It is by doing these small things that you are going to re kickstart the economy with the IMF ka jo fund or whatever is available to them. That is the only way you can survive. Otherwise, future has already been told to you by that Professor Bengali. कि अगले
कैसर बंगाली.
क्या होने वाला है. So I am an Indian and I am suggesting you to do something different. Your own countryman is telling you where you are heading. So if you just put these thoughts together, you know what to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. I think you're done. You put it across. अब मैं सबको बताना चाहता हूँ, हमें पता है कि ये पाकिस्तान की बस की बात नहीं है 5 चीज करना. ना वो करेंगे ना हमें सुनेंगे. बट बात ये है, कोशिश करने में क्या हर्ज है. हम गाली देते रहेंगे पाकिस्तान को यही कोसते रहेंगे कि भाई तुम ये है, वो है, ये है, आप बढ़ जाओगे, नहीं बटोगे, पीओके में घुसोगे, नहीं घुसोगे. इसीलिए हमने ये जो 5 आइटम रखा है वो थोड़ा अलग किस्म का रखा है कि पॉजिटिव सोचे. क्या है पाकिस्तान इन चीजों को पॉजिटिवली लेगा कि नहीं, वो उनकी मर्जी है.
Right. There is a saying na that you can take horse to the water but you can't force it to drink.
हाँ,
क्योंकि हमने नेगेटिव बात करने के लिए तो हमारे को 2 मिनट दीजिए. आई कैन कम आउट विद वॉल्यूम.
वो तो हम.
But that's why I thought let's do something different on the Independence Day of Pakistan as a good neighbor. That friend, please, we actually wish you well, because when you are okay, we are also going to be okay.
Okay.
But if you don't want to be okay, we are okay. Don't worry.
If you are not okay, we are okay. If you are okay, we are okay. We are okay. Right. So the point is, हमें पता है, ये बात ये है, सबको बताना ये इम्पोर्टेंट है. ये जैसे जनरल वीपी सिंह ने बताया, ये तो बताना है कि पाकिस्तान को कैसे नष्ट करना है, क्या उसको धकेलना है अंदर गड्ढे के अंदर जो ऑलरेडी पड़ा है, या वो जिस गड्ढे में है उसके ऊपर मिट्टी डालना है और डसना है इसको. ये सब हमें पता है, ये तरीके तो पता है, पर उससे हमें कोई फायदा नहीं होगा. इंडिया को तभी होगा जब हमारे संबंध बिटवीन इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान ठीक हो. और ये ठीक होने के लिए ये 5-6 रास्ते हैं. हो सकते हैं कोई और 2-3 और ऐड कर ले, और कोई वो बहस हो सकता है उसमें. कोई
वो देखिए, आपके प्रोग्राम की एक टाइम लिमिट होती है ना, इसीलिए मैंने 5 की बात की. नहीं तो आई कैन ड्रिंक अनदर 20.
नहीं, मोटे तौर पर अगर ये 5 कर लें तो रास्ता थोड़ा सही निकलेगा. हमें भी पता है कि वो नहीं करेंगे, और खास करके वो नहीं बोलेंगे यार इंडिया के 2 जनरल ऐसे बोल रहे हैं तो हमारा कुछ घाटा ही होगा, क्योंकि उनका सोच विचार ही उल्टा है. ठीक है, हमें बड़ा क्लियर है. राइट. और we had to be positive and think differently. Right. So with this, General VP, we'll take a few questions.